Man discovers message in a bottle from the past, ends with a life-changing discovery. Joe had worked as a night watchman in a factory since he graduated high school 5 years ago. It was a lonely job, but he was content. He stopped by the beach every day on his way home to watch the sunrise. One day, he was walking on the beach when he noticed a bottle in the surf. Joe picked it up, thinking he would throw it away, when he saw a roll of paper inside it. Joe's heart beat faster. It was a bona fide message in a bottle. He uncorked the lid and opened the letter. "Hi. My name is Richie. I'm sending this message in the hope that somebody will find it and become my friend." Joe frowned at the page. It saddened him to think of this boy waiting and hoping somebody would answer his message. He took his cell phone from his pocket and dialed the number written near the bottom of the page. Immediately, he heard an automated message stating that the number didn't exist anymore. Joe hung up and headed back up the beach. He was about to throw the bottle away, but he hesitated. Although he was tired, Joe made another stop at the library. "Good morning," Joe greeted the older woman at the front desk. "I hope you can help me. I'm looking for old telephone books. That's not something we hear every day." The librarian gave him an amused smile. "Come this way." Joe followed the librarian to a section of the library that felt deserted. There, she pointed him to shelves filled with old telephone books. "Wow. I didn't think there'd be so many," Joe said. He stifled a yawn. "What are you looking for?" the librarian asked. "Maybe I can help." Joe showed her the message he found on the beach. The librarian became very excited when he told her he wanted to locate Richie. She sat down with him, and they searched the telephone books for Richie's phone number together. 2 hours later, Joe was about to fall asleep at the table when the librarian let out an excited squeal. She slid the old book across to him. "Thank you," Joe said, quickly copying down the address. "That's what librarians are for, honey." She winked at him. "Just make sure you come back here to tell me what happens when you go to that house." Joe promised to return, but he was too tired to investigate the address. He went home, slept, and dreamed of finding the boy who wrote the message. He spent his entire shift wondering what Richie would look like and what he would think of Joe, the night watchman who found his message. His curiosity was overwhelming. When his shift ended, Joe immediately headed for the address from the phone book. He almost screamed when he saw that the house at the address had been converted into a hair salon. Joe stared at the sign. He held the message from the bottle in one fist and the paper with the address in the other. "We aren't open yet." Joe turned and found a man with graying temples and a well-styled mustache behind him. "I'm not here for my hair," Joe replied. "I'm looking for the people who used to live here." "You mean the Allens?" The man frowned. "I'm looking for Richie." "Richie, yeah, that was the son's name. His mama was a widow and raised him alone. Never complained either, though it can't have been easy taking care of a kid in a wheelchair by herself." "Richie is in a wheelchair?" "Since he was a kid." The man studied him through narrowed eyes. "Why are you looking for Richie Allen? You're a little young to have known him or his mama when they lived here." "I'm not looking for trouble. I want to find him because of this." Joe handed the man the message from the bottle. The man raised his eyebrows as he read the note. "Where'd you get this?" "It washed ashore on the beach in a bottle." "Richie sent out a message in a bottle?" The man pressed a hand to his chest. "That's so sweet and sad. It must have been drifting out in the ocean for years and years." "Why?" Joe couldn't believe what he was hearing. He'd finally found Richie, but Richie wasn't the boy he'd pictured in his imagination. Instead, Richie was an older man. Would Richie even remember the message he threw into the ocean so many years ago? He must have given up hope that anybody would find it, which was all the more reason to deliver the message to him now. Joe thanked the man and drove to the nursing home. After asking to see Richie, a nurse showed Joe to a sunlit room where an older man in a wheelchair was looking out the window. "You have a visitor, Mr. Allen," the nurse said. Richie turned around and stared at Joe. "Who are you?" he asked. Joe introduced himself and explained why he was there. He then held out the message to Richie. "I remember writing this," Richie said. "I was born with a spinal defect, and it was lonely being the kid who couldn't play as the others could. I spent a lot of time reading, and one day, I decided to try an unusual method to find a friend." Richie smiled. A message in a bottle, just like in the stories. It didn't work, unfortunately. Richie grinned at him. After that, Joe visited Richie every day. They found out they liked many of the same books and movies and shared a similar sense of humor. Joe was thankful he'd persevered to find Richie, but unfortunately, their time as friends would be short. One day, Joe arrived at the nursing home only to learn that Richie had passed away the previous night. Joe was sad, but he was even sadder to find out that Richie had no family to mourn him. Joe attended the funeral and was surprised when a lawyer approached him afterward and told him that Richie had left Joe $500,000. "He thought very highly of you," the lawyer said, "because you didn't give up on finding the person who sent out a message looking for friends."